Hey everybody, welcome back. This is part 2 of putting all sorts of graphics on the screen using Graphics.py, this module here. In this lesson, I'm going to show you how to do primitives. And primitives just means things like points, lines, rectangles, circles, and then even a general polygon as well. So these primitive shapes and then the polygon are pretty easy to do, and we've actually seen a couple things already. So we've seen point and we saw a circle, but we never drew a point. So what I'm going to do is start with the most basic thing. I'm going to go ahead and delete the circle, and I'm going to draw a point to the screen. So I'm going to say set outline for my point, and I'm going to make the color of this be, let's make it yellow there, and then I'll say point draw win. And I'm going to space this out a little bit so that we can kind of differentiate the window stuff from the drawing stuff. And if I run this, and if you run it, you might be able to see this on YouTube. I don't know. There's a little tiny yellow dot in the middle of the screen. If you run this on your own computer, you'll see it no problem. So that is a single pixel drawn here. Okay, so that's how you draw a point. Really easy. Everything actually is created out of points. So the circle uses points, the line uses points, rectangle, all of them use points. Okay, so let's take the point and let's extend this a little bit and let's make a line. So I'm going to keep this point here, and I'm actually going to delete these two, and I'm going to make another point here called PT2, and I'm going to make this point 250 and 350. All right. Now, what you're going to notice actually as well is when I run this, let me run this back here. This is actually pretty important. When I'm drawing stuff on the screen, this top left is actually 0, 0, and then coming down, Y gets bigger. So it's what you're used to in math class. It's flipped upside down. So if this is 0, 0, this would be 0, 500. Not negative 500, but positive 500. And you can change that, and you can put the coordinate, the origin here if you want, at the bottom left. But if you want to get used to the way it's done in every other, pretty much every other graphics library out there, it's always the top left that is 0, 0. So if I come down to like here, this might be X is 100 and Y is 400. All right, so just keep that in mind. Closing that. Let's go ahead and take a look here. So I've got my 2 points. So let's draw a line. And I'm going to draw the line. I'm going to say line object takes PT1, PT2, and then I'm going to set the outline to, I don't know, 255, 255, something like that. And then I will draw it. Okay, so the 2 points are used in the line constructor to create a line, which makes sense. A point to a point is a line. I set the outline. You can actually set the fill on a line, but it doesn't really make very much sense. Like it just changes the color of the whole line. So if you set outline color or fill color, it does the exact same thing. So if I run this, I get a line starting at the center, 250, 250, and going down from 250 to 350. So 250 to 350 down. So that's what I'm talking about with the origin being here. This is actually increasing Y value as I go downwards. All right, so the line, most of the time when you're making these shapes, you don't want to have to create variables for your points. It's just a giant pain. So you can take this out and you can just put these in here directly and skip having these outside. And this makes it a lot easier. And if you want to make it even easier, you could come up here and you could make your own function. You could call this line, and you could just say x1, y1, x2, y2. And then you could, return something like this. You just return an object and then put x1, y1, x2, y2 in there, and then you actually don't even have to write point when you make it. And I'll do this later on when I do a demo game in the next section. I'll wrap some of these things up in my own functions just so I don't have to type so much. Alright, so you can do that. Otherwise, you can just stick by putting point in here and it works just fine. Now, you can also set one other thing on a line. You can set the width. So if I set the width to 5, you notice I get a nice thick line here. So setting the width will change the size of it. And you can put this as big as you want. I mean, I can do that and I get a line that's really, really thick. But if you want something like that, just make a rectangle. It makes more sense. So let's go ahead and actually do that. Let's make a rectangle. And the cool thing is I can take a point, and a rectangle is just 2 points. And I don't need to set the width. I can set the outline, and I can set the fill. Let's go ahead and set fill to be I don't know, maybe 255, 150. And now I need to change the name of my object for each one of these. And now I have a rectangle. I didn't change anything except the name right here. So instead of using the line constructor, which takes 2 points, I use the rectangle constructor, which also takes 2 points. So if I do this, oops, I need to save. And good, okay. Oh, what am I missing here? Point, I need to make my rectangle a little bigger. There we go. Alright, good. So now I had my original points. This point was going down, so it was drawing a rectangle but really, really thin. So I moved my second point out a bit, and if you look, this is the first point in the center, and then this is the second point down here at the bottom right, 350 and 350. So that's how I got my orange square with a bluish outline here. Okay, so rectangle, or in this case it's a square, but I'm using the rectangle object. Okay, so that's how you do a rectangle. Let's go ahead and do the circle again, because I want to show you how you can set the outline on that. So if I make a circle again, I'm going to keep the point in the center. I'll make the radius 100 this time. And let's set the circle to be the same, but I'm also going to set the width on the circle as well to be 5. And then I run this, and now I get the circle again, but this time I have a nice blue outline around the outside. Alright, so shapes pretty easy to do here. The last one, which is a little bit different than the others, is called a polygon. And polygon, as you may have guessed, is just an n-sided shape. And to make that, you put points inside. So if I do like let's do 40 and 40, and then let's do maybe 100, 100, and then let's maybe do 40, 100. Okay, so this shape right here, you probably can figure it out, is a triangle. So if I draw this, let me set the, let's set fill to be, I don't know, let's see, 255, 0, 255, and then let's draw it. Okay. If I run this, I get a nice pink triangle. Okay, and the interesting thing with this is I can actually go ahead and put another point on here. So I can do maybe, I don't know, 0 and 60, and then I get a shape like that. And I'm going to bump these down a little bit so you can see all the points I'm going to put in here. Then I can add another point, and let me put a point further out, 450 and 400, and I run this, and you're going to see that it draws things in the order that I put them in. So, you know, it's 40, 40 first, which is going to be about here. and then 100, 100, which is around down here. Then it goes over here and up here, but then my 5th point is all the way down here, so it's actually kind of pulling that point down and drawing this rather weird looking shape. And the more points you add in, if you're not careful, you can get some pretty awkward looking shapes. So if you're using Polygon, just be careful about kind of how you're drawing things. If I set this, I'm gonna set the outline here so you can see perhaps a bit better what I'm talking about. So let's make a green outline so it'll stand out. And let's set the width of that outline to be a little bit thicker. Okay. So notice how the lines overlap here, and that's what you get is because it just connects the points by the line, and then it fills in any inside area that it possibly can. Alright, so that's pretty much a polygon. Just be careful when you're making them, otherwise you'll get these weird shapes. You can get weird shapes if you want, if that's what you're looking for. Alright, so that's the basic idea of drawing primitives. There's really not a whole lot to it, just using these basic methods here, set, fill, outline, and width. Those are your 3 primary methods. All primitives use a constructor to be created, and you do have to use the draw method and the window that we created up here in order to draw them. Alright, so any questions on this at all, go ahead and leave them on the website or on YouTube. I'll get back to you. And in the meantime, go check out the documentation and see what other stuff is available for Graphics.py. Alright, I will see you soon.